Hello, friends of Kick 'em All Out, and that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to kick them all out with all the stuff going on, mandates, mask mandates, vaccine mandates. It's just the beginning. There will be more to come. Let me give you a little preview. Here is Michael Gunner. He's the Northern Territory Chief Minister of Australia. With the new set of rules they got to live by, and this will be interesting for you, I'm sure.
If your job includes interacting with members of the public, then you need to get the jab. If you work in hospitality, you need to get the jab. If you work in retail or in a supermarket, you need to get the jab. If you are behind the counter at the bank, if you're a receptionist or positions like that, you need to get the jab. If you're a barber, a hairdresser, a beauty therapist, you need to get the jab. All these workers and many, many more directly interact with members of the public. That means you are frontline workers in our economy. That means you must be vaccinated. Of course, there can be exemptions, but these are extremely narrow and must be backed up with medical evidence. Simply not wanting the vaccine is not a reason. Today, we're also announcing the date from which this mandate comes to effect. From Saturday, the 13th of November, if you have not received at least your first dose of a vaccine, you will not be permitted to attend your workplace in that role, and a failure to comply with the direction is a $5,000 fine. That means that workers must have received at least their first dose by Friday the 12th of November at the latest.
Some of you may understand that there is no mandate. There's been no law, there's been no executive order, there's been nothing in the United States that requires a mandate. These big business people are going along with it. Of course, the government agencies, whether it be police, fire, anything in the state or whatever, because they get all their money from the federal government and the state government or whatever. The big businesses are just going along with it because they have federal contracts, and if they didn't go along with it, they would lose their contracts because of our little dictator we've got up there now. That's it's going to take away any money from any company. Plus, maybe depending on how the local OSHA regulations work, if they can convince the, I guess, national board and the state boards in the states to come up with some kind of rule or regulation. I don't know how they'll do that because that's not their purview. It still would not be a law that anybody has to be mandated, and your employer should not be able to do it. I see many, many more millions of people losing their jobs or quitting their jobs over the very short period of time that's going to come within the next month, a couple of months or whatever. But all of the job figures, participation rate is a key figure. Keep an eye on that. They can say there's only 4% unemployment, but that's just a lie because the labor participation rate in this country is dropping like a rock, and it's going to continue to drop. And I'll show you this little bit of information so you can see what's happened in the last month or two.
The Labor Department says 4.3 million people quit their jobs in the U.S. in August. That's not only the most on record, it represents 3% of the workforce. A majority of people left the food and hospitality industries. With 10.4 million job openings in August, workers have more leverage than usual, and employers are being forced to rethink how they retain talent. Meanwhile, more Americans are willfully out of work. More are in debt, too. A September 2021 online survey of 2,400 adults by Bankrate found 42% of consumers with credit card debt have added to the amount they owe since the pandemic began back in March of 2020.
You may have seen on the news where about 4.5 million people left the workforce in August, mostly women, and that's devastating to our economy. The numbers for September, as far as I know, haven't been reported yet about how many more have left the workforce, but it's going to be a critical issue for all service sectors. I'm sure you're seeing, and maybe not, depends on which news you're watching, because they definitely don't want to report it on mainstream media, how many people are leaving the workforce in emergency medical services as far as ambulances and stuff like that, EMTs. A lot of cities say that they're going to lose at least 50%, and at 50% they can't even operate. Can you imagine the number of people with half of the emergency services down? And that may include a large amount of your fire departments, your police, other services that will not be able to save lives or go to calls as far as any kind of crime or whatever. A lot of 911 services will be down. No ambulances to take people to the hospital. It's going to be interesting to see how the regime plays off what's coming, because it's really, really going to be bad. If you will, please subscribe to my channel so we can get as much information out there as possible. Know a lot of people need this information, they're not getting it, and of course a lot of the platforms like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, they're shadow banning and every trick in the book you could think of not to get the information out there. So it'd be much appreciated if we could just keep this passed along. Have a great day.